Hi, this is Dr. Georgia. I hope you find today's message a blessing in your life. We want to make sure that we continue to provide these video messages for you when you can't come to church, or for those of you who live in a different state, or we noticed recently we have a lot of people in even different countries who are tuning in. So if that is you and you can donate to us, we invite you to hit that donate button just below the message here. So thanks so much. Let us prepare ourselves. If you put your hand over your eyes, I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
I open my eyes to see spiritual truth today.
Now your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
And now over your heart, and just extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is freedom is your divine birthright. Freedom is your divine birthright. Freedom in who you love and how you love. Freedom in your health. Freedom in your finances. Freedom in where you work. And freedom in whether you want to be a male or female these days. Freedom is the divine birthright of every living soul. Not just the freedom, not just the souls who've done life right. You know, the souls who went to college and made a lot of money and they're living high. Not just those folks, but folks who just got out of prison this morning and found their way over here. Folks who, no matter what you've done in your past, freedom is the divine birthright of each and every living soul on the planet. Now that powerful statement is on the first page of the first chapter of this book called Science of Mind. And we, every first Sunday in January, we go back to repeating the basics of the science of mind, just to anchor ourselves, to make sure that we all understand where we are and what we're about. You know, this isn't a religion that teaches you what to think, but we offer you an awful lot of stuff that will help you reach conclusions that will make your life so much better in your life. The science of mind is the philosophy behind the Center for Spiritual Awareness. It's called, it was written by a man named Ernest Holmes. Now here is the thing. We used to call ourselves the Church of Religious Science. That's how we started out. The Church of Religious Science. That's how our denomination that we're affiliated with started out. The Church of Religious Science. Now, we changed our name before the mothership changed their name because we kept getting mixed up with people who were Scientologists. Now, we have no negative opinion about Scientology, no positive, we have no opinion at all. But we're not that. And so we wanted to sort of make sure that people understood we were different than that religion. And so we came up with a name. We had a contest and we came up with a name that we think fits what we do here, which is the Center for Spiritual Awareness. Our parents' name, the affiliate denomination, is called the Center for Spiritual Living. We are a part of that. We decided not to change our name. They changed their name after we did. We decided not to change our name because there's a very fine New Thought church, and we're part of a New Thought continuum of churches, a very fine New Thought church in the Sacramento area called the Spiritual Life Center. And so we thought, well, we don't want to be Scientologists, we don't want to be Spiritual Life Center folks, so we changed our name to Awareness. And we didn't change back when the mothership changed. But no matter what our name is, no matter what our parents' name is, what we want to know is that we have definite beliefs here. We're not an anything goes church. Now, we're not a church that cares whether you call us a philosophy or a theology. We don't even care if you call us a church or just this little place over in West Sacramento where I go to get spiritually fed. We don't care any of that stuff. We're a group of people who believe that we're spiritual, not religious. That's who we believe that we are here in this community. But make no mistake, we're not an anything goes church. We're a church that has non-negotiable spiritual beliefs, non-negotiable spiritual principles in our lives, and those non-negotiable spiritual principles will set you free every single time. Every time. If we can begin to study them and become aligned with them and cooperate with them, we will know a freedom we've never known before. We will wake up every single morning with love in our heart. With love and success in our heart. Every morning, not just some mornings, but every single morning. You know, we've been called a me religion, and we came by it honestly. For a long time, people in New Thought were so preoccupied with parking places, manifesting parking places. Now, truthfully, I don't know why that wrinkles people so much. I don't know what's wrong with manifesting a parking place, to tell you the truth, but that's not what we're all about. We're much deeper than that in this truth. And when we can begin to understand that we have to set ourselves free before we can set anybody else free, we get about the work of understanding what these non-negotiable spiritual principles are. Well, today I'm going to race through the first 4 chapters of this book. And I want to just tell you, see how thick this book is? This is a very thick book. Here are the first 4 chapters are just in this area. Everything else is beautiful writings by Dr. Holmes. It's philosophy, it's poetry. It's just beautiful contemplations about what Jesus thought, about what other people thought, about what Ernest Holmes thought. But the meat, the teaching, is in this little bitty area of these first 4 chapters. So we're going to race through those and just be reminded, because you've all heard this before, or in fact you knew it when you came to the planet. You knew this inherently, but unfortunately we've taught it out of ourselves. And we've allowed other people to teach it out of ourselves. So this is just a sermon of remembering who it is we are in this lifetime. So the first one is called The Thing Itself. That's the chapter title, The Thing Itself. What is the thing itself? It is what we call God, Allah, Elohim, the sacred grandmother tree, that energy of divine. That's what the thing itself is. Well, doesn't it sound a little disrespectful to call God the thing itself? And sometimes Ernest Holmes called God the stuff. Sounds a little disrespectful to me to call God the thing itself. Ernest Holmes did that on purpose. He did it on purpose because he wanted us to divorce ourselves from the childhood notions of God that many of us come to this religion with. He wanted us to divorce ourselves from an angry God, a God that blessed us with favor some days and took it away other days. He wanted to bless us. He wanted for us to know that there is no sometimey God. There is no rageful God. There's no punishing God. And the best way to do that is take new language, which makes us think about what is this entity called God. Now, it was hard for me to divorce myself of my childhood teachings about God, because I grew up Catholic, and so I had a lot of unlearning to do about what God was. And so for me, the name I could give God was love, and only love. So if you ask me what God is, I will tell you God for me, of my understanding, is love and only love. And if each one of us could anchor that, if each one of us could anchor that, we would run toward this essence called God. We wouldn't be afraid of it. We wouldn't be angry with it. We would know that it didn't do anything against us because it's only love. The second chapter is called How It Works. How it works. The short answer is it works through us. God can only do for us what God can do through us. There's no Savior out there who's going to do anything for you. So if you're waiting for Jesus, if you're waiting for Buddha, if you're waiting for Lao Tzu, if you're waiting for Moses, if you're waiting for any of the great masters to come and save you, get a snack. Because you're going to be waiting a long while. Now, those people are important. I study Jesus carefully. I love the teachings of Buddha because they have modeled for me a way to be. They understood these non-negotiable spiritual principles better than anybody I know, and they lived their life from that perspective. And as a result, it was a life of success in our life. You and I can do that as well. You know, our evangelical brothers and sisters, you know, I love the first Sunday in December because I've always wanted a Bible to thump. You know, every preacher needs a Bible to go thumping on. And now I have this book the first time of the month. The evangelical community used to have this bracelet. In fact, maybe they still do. That on the bracelet it was WWJD. What would Jesus do? Do you know that if all of us put that bracelet on today and we actually paid attention to it, our lives would be so much more successful? They would be so much better. Because these non-negotiable spiritual truths are what loosen this freedom that is available to each and every one of us, but we have to learn how to do it ourselves. It's God, we call it in this church, we call it God's operating system. And we need to understand, we need to learn what God's operating system is, we need to understand it, and then we need to align with it. We need to cooperate with it in every area of our life. And when you do that, you will succeed with no exceptions. With no exceptions. But you have to do it exactly as it's lined out. And to do that, you have to study it. You have to know what it is. You have to know what it works. It's kind of like mixing colors. If you want the color amber, you have to mix yellow, blue, and red. You can't leave any of them out. You have to do all three of them to get the color amber. Doesn't matter whether good people can't leave some out and still get amber, and bad people can't leave some out and still get... No, everybody, no matter where you've come from, no matter what you've done, no matter what you did walking in here this morning, you still have to mix those three colors to get the color amber. The same thing works with spiritual principles. If you want to loosen the gush of abundance in your life, you have to learn how abundance works. It's God's operating system to deliver you the bounty that is waiting for you. Amen. But you have to learn how to use it. See, you can't just say, I want to be abundant, I'm going to tithe and clean out my closets. Those things will help. They'll loosen the faucet a little bit. But if you want the gusher in every area of your life, you want abundant compassion, you want abundant love, you want abundant creativity, you have to do all of it. You have to do your forgiveness work. You have to learn how to say gratitude prayers every day. There are other things you have to learn in order to totally align with this thing called abundance. And once we do, watch it grow. Just watch it every time. See, Ernest Holmes called this the science of mind because it's a science. These principles are based in science. They're provable. They're learnable. They're repeatable. When a scientist looks at it, at trying to get something, he says, is it learnable? Is it provable? Is it can I do it every time? Can I prove it every single time? And the answer with the spiritual principles is yes. You learn abundance and you will prove it every time. You learn the power of all of the spiritual principles. And you will get them every time if you learn how to become in alignment. And it's just a learning process. There's nobody in this room who can't learn those principles. And many of you have learned the principles. You've taken the classes. You've worked with the material. You've tried to make it work. And your lives are better. We hear testimonials all the time. Your lives are better because you did this work. Now here's the thing. This news that we teach how to use God's operating system, it should fill this church 5 times a Sunday. We should have people winding around the block trying to get in here to learn how to use these spiritual principles. You know, instead of waiting for Uncle Henry to finally kick out and you get a little inheritance, get your own inheritance. You can do it every time, all the time. God bless Uncle Henry, I don't know who he is. Where am I here? Okay, well see, here's the thing. Here's the bonus truth today. God's done God's job. Everything you want, everything you need is on the table right now. It's on the table right now. You want more compassion? It's on the table. You want more creativity? It's on the table. You want more self-confidence when you walk in that next business meeting? It's on the table. You want a red Ferrari? It's on the table. There's nothing that's not on the table just waiting for you. Now here, okay, Reverend Georgia, well, if that's true, what keeps me from my blessing? There are things I've wanted. There's things I told God I wanted. Where are they? As hard as this is for me to say right now, you are blocking them. Amen. Your belief system is blocking them. Yes. Now here, we have to be careful, because whenever we're in the company of powerful medicine, we have to be very careful how we use it. And this is powerful medicine. Because I don't want you to walk out the door this morning worse than when you came in here. And that's easy to do in this area of consciousness. Because if you are a person who has a desire and it hasn't been filled yet, and you're feeling shame around it, you're missing the mark. You're doing what Jesus called sinning. Because there's no shame in this. There's no shame. Most of the ways that we push back are subconscious belief that we're not even aware of in our life. Most of your beliefs that are thwarting your good came here because of where you grew up and with whom you grew up. You inherited limited thinking in your life. Some version of, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not wealthy enough, I'm not creative enough, I'm not perseverant enough. Some version of that. You inherited it. Turn back the inheritance. You don't need it. Get rid of it. It's not for you. So here's the thing. I could stand here and say, all of those thoughts aren't your fault. Poor you. But I'd be a pitiful minister if I did. Because while it's true they're not your fault, and you should never be shaming or faulting yourself anyway, the truth is, don't waste another nanosecond figuring out which ancestor gave you that inheritance so you could be mad at them. Okay? It's a waste of your time. It's a total waste of your time. Move on. Just say, how can I replenish that limited thought with a thought of prosperity in my life? Well, Reverend Georgia, how will I know what I'm spending my inheritance on? How will I know what my inheritance is? Look around your life. Look around your life. If in your life you're stuck, if in your life you have poverty and loneliness, you use phrases like, I can't catch a break. I use that, and it's deep inside of us. I study this. I breathe this. And 2 weeks ago, I heard myself saying, I can't catch a break here. We all do it. It's deep. We just bring it up. We notice it. We look at it. We put a new thought in. And we keep moving on in our life. The third one is this. What it does. The third chapter is called What It Does. And here's the really good news. What God does is love. That's what God does. That's God's job. Is simply to love. Now, in the chapter 3, we're not talking about romantic love, or familial love, or civic love. We're talking about love called desire. That's what we're talking about. Ernest Holmes has a famous quote that a lot of us use a lot of the time. Reverend Betsy, Reverend Rick, and I, we know this phrase. It's called, love points the way, the law makes it possible. Love points the way. God's operating system makes it possible. Desire points the way. God's operating system makes it possible. And that's a powerful thing in our life, because a lot of us are afraid of our desires. But it's just God in full. So everybody close your eyes for a minute and imagine a vast, vast field of quivering energy, just quivering, quivering. You can't see where it ends. You can't see where it begins. There are no sides to it. It's just immense. It's infinite, this energy. Now your job is to know that energy is always there and never gets depleted. If some of the energy comes out, more energy automatically appears. So you can open your eyes. That energy comes into form by right of your consciousness, by right of your desire. Your desire is, you are the potter, and you make a bowl for your desire, and you take it to the energy field, and you allow it to be filled. And it will be filled each and every time simply by your desire. Sometimes, no, all the time. Every time you take your bowl to the energy field, whatever you've got here, if you get a little bowl, you get a little bowl. You got a big bowl, you got a big bowl. Take it to the energy field, and it becomes filled. Now here we want to be careful, because you've heard that phrase, be careful what you pray for. See, God doesn't say, oh, Georgia, take your bowl away. You don't want this. This isn't good for you. No. God will always fill the bowl. Always. Every time. Now, there have been times when I've taken my bowl with totally stupid ideas. They would be called anything but life-affirming, these ideas. And still, I take my bowl to the field, and God simply fills it. Because God knows that while it might not make me happy, it will always be purposeful. Because the lack of happiness may be something I need to learn to get my soul to move on in a new direction. And sometimes it takes a while for us to climb out of that unhappiness, and we can get mad at God as a result of it. God, I just dug myself into a deep hole. How did you let me do this? Because you needed to. You didn't need to because that's the way of things. You needed to because that's your way of things in this life. That's number 3. Let's go on to number 4. How it works. How it works is through you. God can only do for you what God can do through you. You know, I don't know about you, but my consciousness, my mind can use a little up-leveling these days, especially with this political climate. For me, maybe not for you, but for me. I love Mary's prayer to remind me, pick it up, because I get so down, and I get so reactive. Now look, it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop marching. I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep, writing my letters, wearing my little sweatshirts with all these stuff on it. People ask, what do you do? Oh, I'm a teacher. I never tell them I'm an minister. But here's the thing. Even though I'm not going to stop that, I am going to hold myself responsible for picking it up. For seeing love where it doesn't look like love exists. But I know it's there. Because it's a non-negotiable spiritual truth. That we are all whole, perfect, and complete inside of us. And that's what I hold on to. Well, that's a brief look at the first 4 chapters. Here's what Ernest Holmes said that I hold on to all of my life. And that is this. He asks the question, how much life can you handle? As much as I can embody. That's what he answers. As much as I can embody. Let's take this message into prayer. I give thanks for every single person who came here this morning to fill up this church with love, with music. I give thanks for David. Our beloved Justin is under the weather, and his wife called last night late, and David Mormon just stepped right up and took over the sound, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful for everybody here who puts this service together. And I'm grateful for those of you who just come to want to learn and laugh and love and play together. I give thanks. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.